They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Alright, good evening people. I think we're live. How are you brewing tonight? Welcome to the Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your host Lefty. You're all very welcome here this evening. Bit of profanity at the start there. Tisk tisk. What a potty mouth. Yeah, that was something else, wasn't it? I'll be talking about that a bit more later on. So who have we got in the House of Brew this Tuesday, 24th of June 2025. Odin Allfather was first into the chat, followed by Mo. Chris, great to see you as well. Guitar Guy. JC, how you doing? How are you brewing? Great to see you all. And it'd be great to see you all hit the thumbs up button as well. Yeah, please do that. It's a great way to help spread this stream about the old webinet. First of all, very quick, immediate dive into a story. Sort of. Yeah, I couldn't get on stream yesterday. I was impeded. I was a bit delayed. Anybody who is close to where this stream comes from, or these streams, plural. Anyway, from Manchester, you'd probably be aware of a certain incident yesterday. which held me up quite a bit. Actually, I'm just gonna preemptively load something up. And while that's going on, I'll get the formality out of the way. Not that one. The other formality. That is a shout out to all the members on the channel. Thank you very much, marvellous members. I can see we've got quite a few in the chat already. Emma Richardson just joined us in the chat as well. How do you brew? Where was I on my little setting my stall out bit? Ah yes, you can join this list of people and it will cost you not even £1, just 99 pence, British sterling, pence. Yeah, lots of benefits and perks for you to enjoy. Please do check those out. Thank you very much to everybody for your ongoing support on the channel. Thanks for renewing your memberships and gifting to others and all that jazz. There are other ways that you can support the channel, including through our Buy Me a Coffee page, if you prefer that method of support. So check out the link in the description. Other ways that you can do it for free, as well as hitting the thumbs up button, making sure that you've done that. You can also help to get us around social media with a share. So please do share this stream or other content around whichever platforms you're on. But if you happen to be on Blue Sky, give us a follow there at MyLeftIUK, and also on Twitter and Mastodon. These are facts. Because this is a channel that does know what the F is going on. We might drop the odd F-bomb here and there. Depends. I let a few C-bombs out some streams ago and that had repercussions. When was I last with you on stream? That would have been Sunday. So when I came on stream on Sunday, I'll be honest people, 3 out of the preceding 4 streams were under review for demonetisation, and while they're under review, there's like limited or no ads basically. But that's not a massive thing on these streams because there's only one ad if you are watching live, which is handy, and that's no accident. Yes, so if you're watching back later on, there will be ads through the stream, just so you know. Or maybe not, if it's under review. But I think a couple of them have been approved in the last 24 hours or so. Quick channel update for you there, people. And speaking of which, if you were counting that list of members, you would have counted 81, excuse me, which is just a bit below the target of 100. It's been fluctuating recently, so current standing is 81. And I'll bring you good people up on the screen and let the people be seen. Yeah, I'm trying to not turn that into some sort of, I don't know, game show segment, like little rhyme or whatever. So, here you are. Yes, Chris, quite sweary. I don't normally go so far, people, but it, you know, why not? Why the heck not? You know, let's let loose tonight. It could get absolutely blooming scary. It really could. Ooh, criminy. Curses. From a film I like that one. Anyway. Curses. What have we got coming up, people? Yes, this ceasefire business, air quotes ceasefire, as I've put it in the title. Trump just came out and announced it. And then just like that, Israel unleashed a barrage of missiles towards Iran, which he wasn't pleased with. I think Iran fired a few back as well in the early hours of this morning. That is British time. So the made-up ceasefire was supposed to come into effect at either 6 or 7 a.m, depending on which news source you read or whatever mood or colour socks Donald Trump's got on. So he threw his toys out of the pram. Of course, there was that sweary tirade against both of them, but when was the last time? I mean, I'm obviously no fan of Trump. I'm not giving him props or credit or anything, but I couldn't help raise a smile as I heard the President of the United States, whomever that might be, speak about Israel in that tone, in a manner that has never been seen before, but also just completely openly laying into them. It was actually quite refreshing. Normally quite a struggle listening to Donald Trump's press statements and so on. So I'll be getting into that, and of course the latest on Gaza in the show as well, a bit more about this Palestine Action proscription, not prescription, proscription, prescribement. They've been prescribed, that's essentially what's happening. I'll have to double check on that one. Just in case you end up on, could you get that in 9 letters with countdown? I don't know. I wouldn't go on anyway because I can't stand Rachel Riley. Even if it's the 8 out of 10 cats version. Right, people. Where are we up to? I've got some really good clips in this stream tonight. Not that it's not normally top quality, of course. I've got quite a plethora, a bounty of comedy clips, so hopefully it will be mostly a light-hearted affair this evening. Of course, we'll get into some serious topics. I'll talk a little bit about this upcoming vote on disability benefits as well. Starmer's got the knives out for the poor and disabled again, but this one really could see some daggers in the back internally from Labour, with the set to be quite a strong pushback against that. Perhaps some votes not going Starmer's way. Did anyone here tax the rich? Well, I certainly didn't hear it coming from Starmer's mouth, at least. Right, people. Oh yeah, just quickly before I go over to the first comedy clip, I'll just show you what I was on about with yesterday's incidents in Manchester. So I was on my way back, and if you're familiar with Manchester, or specifically Oxford Road Station, you're going down Oxford Road itself, and there are two ways to get in. One is up a sort of ramp, and the other is a bit further down, around the side of a few pubs, up quite a lot of steps. So I thought I was going the ramp way. As soon as I turned around the corner, there's a supermarket on the corner. street just before you get to this ramp, and police tape everywhere, about 20-25 police vehicles there, fire engines and more showing up as I got there just after this incident had happened. So there was actually a BBC article about this. I'll bring this up, and then I've just got a snap that I took as well. So I was heading there to get a train from there. To be honest, obviously I then had to get a bus, which was obviously somewhat difficult with the train station being shut, a lot of the buses overcrowded and not stopping even at the stops. So this is what happened. You can see the entire, this is a listed building as well. It's the Hotspur House, which this is an old warehouse sort of mill type building, of which there are plenty in Manchester, of course, being the home of the Industrial Revolution and invented the King computer, etc. So it's right by the tracks as you're coming into Oxford Road station. There were trains on the tracks, obviously. At the time it was coming up to around rush hour-ish, quite a busy time of day. One of my friends was actually in one of the trains that was stuck between Oxford Road and the station next to it, which was Deansgate from the direction he was travelling. So that was pretty worrying for him, but fortunately it's okay, you know, no injuries. And I should say straight, I'll try and bring up my snap here. So much smoke everywhere and ash, you could really smell it. Just sort of even as I was approaching the station itself, you know, so people running and dashing to get away from that because it was pretty intolerable, to be honest. Can I bring this up? Will that come up? No. That's weird. I did have a couple of pictures that I quickly took on my phone before I got the car out of there. But the broadcast software doesn't seem to like them. They're in the right formats and everything. Oh well, they're definitely not too big. They're only, what, are they even 2 megabytes each? Forget about technical details. There's some more pictures, well, probably better ones than I took in my haste, let's be honest, in the article. You can see an aerial shot there, and the proximity, so you can see the train tracks go right behind there, and if you know Manchester, it goes through a series of archways. Basically, it's one of those raised train lines with lots of arches underneath and archways, which you can just make out behind the plume of smoke there. So yeah, a bit closer there. This is actually not too far from where I still had to go and get the bus, to be honest. On the right you can see the Ritz there. That's a famous venue, live music and club venue. Wow. Sorry, I just had a quick look at this article before I came on stream. I already know the details and while I was there, so anyway, first time I've seen that picture. Something I did want to mention, and this has come up on social media, I'm not sure if the press might have reported it. So this particular building in question, not too far into the distant past, come under new ownership apparently, and they were having trouble with demolition because of it being a listed building. Do you see where I'm going with this, people? Can you hear the scrunching of tinfoil in the background here? Thank you, Phil. Phil is our mute producer. He is also in charge of distributing tinfoil. Not that there is any tinfoil here. Oh no. So I heard that rumour. I'd like to know what you think about it, especially if you're from Manchester or if you were close by. I just refreshed the chat though. We've got some new arrivals as well. We've got Nina Sadie, great to see you, and Doc. Hedy, how do you brew? Let's bring back the music and crack on. Yeah, so that was the latest. It wasn't really a brush with danger, but I've accidentally set off the members scroll as well. Just something I wanted to share with you there. I think it's a pretty good reason not to have been on live. I don't think I actually got back till after 9, to be honest. Way too short a time to prepare such a quality stream, of course. What do you think? I just fly in through the door, hit go live, and oh no, no. Right, so we'll lead with a comedy clip. As we always do. Some of you will be more than familiar with by now if you're a long-term viewer, but if not, do check him out. His name is Matt Green, and he does some very good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, Nina Sadie, thank you very much for the gifted membership there. Awesome. That warrants a change in the count. Before we go into the clip, thank you very much for that. Solidari-Tea, Nina Sadie. Marvellous members we have here on my left eye. So do go along and check out Matt Green. This is the latest from him.
A group of scientists, artists and influencers have begged the Nobel Prize Committee to give Donald Trump a special prize immediately before he accidentally blows up the world or something. Our flattery, diplomacy and give the guy a medal already correspondent Jonathan Goodenough has more. Yes, that's right, hundreds of talented and notable people, as well as several TikTokers, have urged the Norwegian gong givers to produce a special award for the President of the United States that is bigger, more garish and more golden than anyone produced in the past, on the off chance that this might get him to calm down a bit. And would that work? Well, it's long been clear that Donald Trump is desperate to win the Nobel Peace Prize, largely because Barack Obama won it in 2009, essentially for not being George W. Bush anymore. Right? In fact, Trump's whole presidency can be seen as a backlash against Obama's term in office, because he had the temerity to make fun of him at a dinner, be a black man, and most importantly, not be Donald Trump. Okay? And in fact, this whole Iran crisis can be traced back to Trump withdrawing from the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that was working, according to most experts, but had to be destroyed because it was Obama's achievement. Maybe if they'd renamed it the Trump deal, he'd have been okay with it. That is almost certainly the case, which begs the question, was it worth renaming Obamacare Trump tonic. So what has he done this week? Well, in just over 2 days, he's bombed Iran, declared success, declared a ceasefire, then run a victory lap, seemingly without checking that anyone else had agreed. Because in his mind, nobody else really exists? It's a strong supposition. Meanwhile, Israel declared a ceasefire while literally launching missiles. Iran said that they hadn't been asked about a ceasefire, then fired some missiles at a US base in Qatar that deliberately missed. Then Qatar said they reserved the right to respond, and David Lammy called for restraint. From who? Everyone. Including Israel and the US. Good one. Oh, you're being serious? No. So why was Iran attacked? Well, because Netanyahu's wanted to bomb Iran for decades, and he knew that Iran was weak and that Trump wouldn't stop him, and he also wanted to draw the world's attention away from the horror show that is Gaza. And then when Trump saw what was happening, he thought bombing Iran sounded cool, and he wanted to get in on the act too. Oh, Jonathan, I don't think you got the updated script. Oh, sorry, yeah, do you want to ask that again? So why was Iran attacked? To stop it from making a nuclear weapon. Was it about to make one? That depends on who you listen to. Most experts who agree they were some way off developing one and mainly enriching uranium to build leverage for future talks, or Donald Trump, who just had a sort of vibe that they were. So what happens now? Unclear. It seems that many countries around the world will probably conclude that the only way to avoid being attacked by the US and Israel in the future is to not have a nuclear weapons program, or to develop one really quickly in secret. Are negotiations off the table? Not necessarily, but you have to ask how effective they'll be when Israel seems in no mood to talk, and Trump seems to have the attention span of a gadfly with ADHD. What's been Keir Starmer's response to all this? He's called for de-escalation, with about as much success as a tiny child wandering into a dance tent at a festival and asking everyone to keep things down a bit. Thank you, Jonathan. Oh, Trump's just said fuck! Time to get to the bunkers. Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, as a large rebellion looms against the government's planned cuts to personal independence payments, we ask, after the winter fuel debacle, is Keir Starmer counting on disabled people being less likely to vote than pensioners, especially if you've just taken away their wheelchairs?
The brilliant Matt Green there. I do like to zoom in, give him a plug for his live tour as well. Check out those dates and locations if you're anywhere around these places. So that's starting in October and November. Get them now. Get your tickets while they're hot. Brilliant stuff from Matt Green. He did actually remind me there of a bit of a analogy that I wanted to make. I'll bring up the latest feed on Israel-Iran as this supposed ceasefire, Your Honour, seems to be holding, but it's certainly not gone as Donald Trump seems to be displaying or getting cocky about, gloating. Just want to run this by you first though, people, lest I forget. Concerning the United States' attack on Iranian nuclear facilities now, I'm going to drop a comparison which might sound strange at first, but stick with me, people. And again, this isn't a tin hat theory, this is sociology corner here, I guess. So the Great Train Robbery, if anybody is familiar with that story, that took place in Britain in the 1960s. It made worldwide news. At the time, it was the most amount of money stolen in a robbery. I think the modern equivalent would be some tens of millions of pounds. That was worth maybe 2-3 million-ish, I think, back in the 1960s. Why am I talking about the Great Train Robbery, you might ask? And why is there a amber tangent alert? I'll tell you for why. So, America attacked Iran even though they didn't have a nuclear weapon, even though they weren't trying to get a nuclear weapon. There's still some 30% away in terms of enrichment of uranium. But they still went after them anyway. So, what incentive is there for Iran, apart from that they might as well build one anyway, if they're going to be accused of having one, attacked for having one, even though they don't have one? And then if they do have one, it could be used as a deterrent, for example. But I am 100% sure that they're not trying to do that, they're not trying to acquire one. But they might now think that they may as well. And we'll go back to the 1960s in England. One of the things that was brought up about the Great Train Robbery was the sentences that were given to the people who got caught. Some of them didn't actually get caught. It was a team, it was a gang, professional robbery gang who did it. They got huge sentences that were at least equal to or greater than the sentences given in armed robberies with firearms, which weren't used in the robbery. They had koshes and other things, but no firearms whatsoever. So then after that sentencing, there was a spate of robberies where firearms were used, because the thinking on the street was, if you're going to be sentenced as though you've got that kind of a weapon, you might as well have one anyway. Sort of some form of insurance, or just in case, you know, you're going to have a go here, or that's from their point of view. And if you can see the comparison that I'm making here, in terms of Iran's nuclear intentions, this will have done nothing to deter them, but they've got a selection of reasons why it might actually now encourage them. But I think that they would see that as the obvious move. I think Iran would see that as the obvious move. If I was in their shoes right now, I would sort of carry on as before. And they've said that they're going to carry on as before with the nuclear program, because Trump, you know, telegraphed that he was going to attack that those areas. They managed to get a lot of the material and equipment out of there, and it didn't cause as much damage as they said it was anyway. It's done absolutely nothing to hinder their developments. Even though there were some claims that it had been put back by 2 to 3 years, just days ago. I'd like to know what you think about that little analogy there. Nicola Curtin, great to see you, welcome to the stream. So I guess that brings us up to today. It's not every day that you hear the President of the United States drop the F-bomb. But he seems to have announced a ceasefire that was unbrokered. They didn't have any negotiations or a get-together or anything. He just announced it. Thinking that they, that is Israel and Iran, would just go along with it, and they didn't. Of course they didn't. And if they were planning on any ceasefire, it certainly was between themselves and not because of anything that Donald Trump has done. And then he came out earlier on today and he was like, you know, they're messing up my fairy tale. They don't know what they're doing. Because he wants to make himself out to be the great peacemaker of our time, doesn't he? Well, I can just bring up the opening meme again. Oh, I'm not on the right scene. Never mind. But yeah. Attacking nuclear power facilities, I should say. Really doesn't reek of peace, does it? I won't bring up the list, I've used it on the last couple of live streams, but that long list of countries that USA has had its hand in post-World War II compared to 0 that Iran has as well. And, another reminder that Iran has not invaded another country for 200 years. Which is like half the time that America's been a country. Roughly half. So what's the latest? Let's have a look here, people. This is the most fragile ceasefire you'll ever see in your days, people. I'll tell you that now. In fact, I'll do a poll. Let's see what you're saying, people. Just it's ready. Poll incoming. Be a few options here. And then just one more. Okay. So let's get your 2 cents here, people. Let's pick your brains. How long will the ceasefire last? Will it be days, weeks, months, or will it be over by the end of this live stream? Please do share your thinkings with me in the poll. And reasons for your votes as well in the chats, or just let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching back later on. Lots of ways to get interactive. Well, well, would you look at that? Small drones have been intercepted over Iran. That's unconfirmed reports. This would be at the moment, it looks like nobody has gone to any sort of shelters. Life has returned to so-called normal. Not that you'd call what's going on in Israel as normal. They're all a bunch of fucking weirdos, if you ask me. Most of them. Not the Zionists. And Israel says it's intercepted 2 drones as well. Okay. That's a doctor from Tel Aviv. Who doesn't have to operate on kids who've been shot in the chest and head deliberately. That's just a reminder of the sites that were struck. So it's all quiet on the Eastern Front, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And Iran has certainly seen this as a victory. The retaliatory attacks on US bases yesterday were certainly mud in Donald Trump's eye. You could almost see, you know, he's called for a ceasefire and then said it's going to be known as the 12-day war. But you could see it as one of the quickest capitulations in history. Donald Trump was shouting for a ceasefire after just one strike. Stu, thanks a lot for the super sticker. I hope you're well this evening. Solidari-Tea for that. And Solidari-Tea to everyone who's hit the thumbs up button. I can see there are 5 viewers watching at the moment who haven't hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, what else is happening in the chat, Chris? That's a good point. I did want to mention that at some point. Russia might have offered Iran some nukes. Did hear about the prospect of that. And I think if America would have carried on, then Russia would have gotten involved, definitely. And from there, it doesn't take a great amount of imagination to see China coming into that as well, and then look at what you've got. You could say that it is a war taking place across the world, around the world. I don't know what sort of a name you might have for that. And this has happened once or twice before. Let's say twice before. So I don't know what you'd call this third time. I don't know, but that's what I could have seen coming. More, you hit like as soon as you entered the room. Awesome stuff. IDF acknowledges ceasefire and says the focus shifts back to the ongoing occupation, which is illegal, and of course the illegal genocide in Gaza. I bet they can't wait for that. You see, they've stood up to a country that can actually fire back with equal or greater force, but now they just want to go back to picking on civilians, kids, hospitals, schools. Yeah. I will have the latest on that a bit further down the road in the stream. Let's see where you're leaning towards in the early phase of the poll. Okay, I would summarise that as perhaps not so optimistic. It's just more or less recap stuff at the moment. And then he dropped the F-bomb, didn't he?
They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not...
Yeah, but we know at this point that the tail's wagging the dog. You can't just say that and expect Israel to fall in line. Of course, you can't make any sort of announcements on behalf of Iran either. They more than, you know, I'm not sticking up for Israel or anything. I'm just saying how He doesn't just announce it on Truth Social and then it happens. That's just ludicrous. He thinks that by not even by the stroke of a pen, but by the click of a post, then it's done and it's a ceasefire. That you don't have to have mediation and get people around a table. You have to have terms of a ceasefire. You have to have a period of time that it's for example. Are there any other caveats and conditions that come into the agreement? Will there be some sort of trade-off of any kind? No. Let's have a look at the actual post itself. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran, which it wasn't, that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. Should have had a hyphen between in and progress there. Donald. End brackets, comma. For 12 hours, another comma, at which point World War will be considered... the war will be considered ended. Caps again. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, caps, and upon the 12th hour, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end, capital letters. That wasn't a Trump impression, by the way. I don't know what I was going with there. So the 12-day war will be... I've got a good Trump impression coming up after this, actually. It will be saluted by the world during each ceasefire, caps again. The other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. You could put that in the bank. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. Stamina? 12-day war? Does it stamina in Israel? Certainly not. If that had carried on, they would have been completely screwed. We're talking about, you know, it costing them somewhere in the region of 30-odd% of the GDP to keep it going. So he ends, this is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless, yada yada yada. Signed in crayon. Just back to the clip. Let's get a replay of this F-bomb.
They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to. That one of the Israel missiles didn't get through because it was shot down or something. I've been wondering what that part of this clip was about, but let me know if you got any insight to that. Yeah, Nina said it was a bit like Churchill, wasn't it?
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
And then everybody lost their shit. Off he goes in the fucker-copter. Just the irony. The irony. A man clearly out of control accuses others of not knowing what they're doing. Well, we know what Israel's doing, obviously. Looks like Iran know what they're doing. Right, where are we going to next, people? I was going to show you that clip of him. Yeah, I'll play this clip next. Just because it pertains to that, and then we'll have a bit of a comedy interlude. I've played a clip from this guy before. You'll have to forgive me, I've forgotten the name, and I got the clip just from a friend on social media, but it really is a good clip. If you can remember what they're called, please do let me know in the chat or in the comments.
Must be out of your mind if you think that America entering the war and escalating the war is going to be good for you in any way whatsoever. They want to finish you. Don't you understand that? Look, construction in your country, in Israel, has already stopped. It already stopped 600 days ago. When your buildings get damaged, they're staying damaged. Do you understand? Do you have any idea how much more damage Iran can absorb than you can absorb? Their country is 70 times larger than you. 70 times. Their army is at least 4 times larger than you. And their soldiers aren't on TikTok. They're not quitting. They're not refusing to serve. They're not getting taken off duty for mental problems. They're not committing suicide. They're not killing themselves. No, it doesn't even matter how much damage America could potentially do to Iran. You cannot sustain a fraction of what Iran can sustain, and that's just a fact. If this goes on for even just 6 months, you're looking at an economic toll on your economy of upwards of $165 billion. That's 35% of your GDP. Double that if it goes on for a year, and it can go on for a year. If it's a full-blown war and Iran starts to get replenishments of their artillery from Russia, China, North Korea, whatever, and if they reactivate their proxies, oh yes, it can go on. And yes, the fact of the matter is,
35% of GDP is huge. There's an outcry at the moment about Keir Starmer's intentions to raise it to somewhere around 3 or perhaps 5% of our GDP. And that's just completely unsustainable. It would be unsustainable, as you heard him explain there. If the Iran-Israel war goes on for a year, what was the number? $165 billion. Multiply that by however many months. Now, of course, they'll go cap in hand to Trump. But as we've seen before, Trump isn't somebody who just throws it out without wanting something in return. This guy's a crook, and now you've got crooks who would turn to crooks for their support as well. But it's over. The deluded fairy tale Zionist myth has surely now got to end. Whether it's by all the leaders ending up in The Hague, or perhaps the country will just tear itself apart.
That your people all have somewhere else to go when things get bad. Iranians don't. You understand? Iranians don't even have to carry out a mass casualty attack in Israel. They don't have to focus on that. All they have to do is land one rocket in one building, and everyone in every apartment of that building is on a plane to New York. They're on a plane to Paris or to Moscow. They can literally depopulate your whole country just by targeting infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, you're all pampered Westerners, after all. You're not trying, they're not killing themselves. No, it doesn't even matter how much damage America could potentially do to Iran. You can all have somewhere else to go when...
Sorry about it skipping around there. Sorry, my fault. Thanks a lot for the shout out in the chat. Shahid Bolson, thank you very much for that information. So yeah, that's the one. Thank you very much, Nicola. Welcome to the chat and welcome to the channel as a new subscriber. We're just going through the Iran-Israel conflict at the moment. You're very welcome here this evening.
Things get bad. Iranians don't attack in Israel. They don't have to focus on that. All they have to do is land one rocket in one building, and everyone in every apartment of that building is on a plane to New York. They're on a plane to Paris or to Moscow. They can literally depopulate your whole country just by targeting infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, you're all pampered Westerners, after all. You're not trying to live without Wi-Fi and cappuccinos. You know it and I know it. You're not ready to die for the Zionist cause. I mean, be serious. And then there's the fact that, what do you think happens if they escalate the war? What do you think happens when American soldiers start dying for you? Listen, Americans don't even want to see American soldiers overseas supposedly dying for their own country in Iraq, in Afghanistan, or wherever else, according to the rationale that they give their soldiers and their soldiers' families. You notice that they didn't even send their own soldiers to go and fight in Ukraine against their arch enemy, Russia. I mean, firstly, what on earth makes you think that they're even going to be willing to fight and die for you when they don't even want to send their soldiers, like I said, to go fight and die supposedly for their own country, you know, in various military engagements around the world? What makes you think that you're not...
You can't argue with a single point of this, can you? It's very well thought through, very articulate. It's obviously someone who is in possession of the facts and has a clear grasp on reality. Something that our politicians and mainstream media here in the UK seem to be devoid of. And when you do look at this on a macro scale, you know, whether you're into politics and sociology or not, this is exactly the way that it is. I can see some other good points being made in the chat as well. Comparison to India as well, when India was part of the British Empire. Well, speaking of the Churchill voice, this was a man who essentially killed 2 million Indians under British rule. But the GDP to debt percentage was 240%. So the UK couldn't afford to keep them essentially at the barrel of a gun, as they did for so long. And now, alas, India succeeds us in terms of GDP, knocking us off 5th place. So we're just clinging into the G7 still. And yeah, we all know that a lot of Israeli occupiers weren't originally born there. They come across, you know, they're expats from Europe and America, most of them. most Palestinians have Semitic ancestry. This is a genetic fact. I think this was discovered perhaps as far back as the Human Genome Project, which took place in the 1980s. A mass survey of people's hereditary genetics. So 97-98% of Palestinians are actually from that region, whereas on the flip side, it is a single figures percentile. I can't remember the exact one, somewhere around 6 or 7, I believe it was, percent of Israelis are actually from that region. Of course, by definition, Semites are people who are from that region and speak Arabic, Hebrew, or Aramaic. Yeah. So take that one, Netanyahu.
Just going to get Ukrained out of existence by your best friend Uncle Sam. They're willing to fight Russia down to the last Ukrainian. What makes you think that they're not going to be willing to fight Iran all the way down to the last Israeli? Wallahi, you're not reading the room at all.
Very good. You can. I'm not sure if I'm doing a plug for the original uploader, but this is where it came from. Shahid Bolson. So this was on Is It or Not 2020. That's a TikTok account if you're on TikTok. Oh, we don't have a TikTok account here on My Left Eye, but worth checking out if you're on there. Now let's move on with the music. We've got Ed Sexby in the chat as well. Sorry, I've not said hello to you yet this evening. How do you brew? Brookings Institute, yeah, good point there, Become. It's definitely worth checking out as well. That paper from 2009. That was a pretty substantial paper as well. Edward, you need a cuppa. Yeah, it does help. Always helps. I say as I'm taking a sip out of mine. Let's go for another comedy interlude, people. This is a new feature on the channel. That is not to say it's a homegrown comedy bit, but Rudi Ayoub has never featured before, is what I mean. It's great stuff, great impersonator. This is one of Trump, so I hope you do enjoy this one.
Mr. President, we can't go to war with Iran.
Why not? They have nuclear weapons.
They said they don't, sir, and they don't want to go to war.
They're about 2 weeks away from nuclear weapons.
They said you've been saying that for 20 years, Mr. President.
Are you calling me a liar? Is that what it is? Are you... Alejandro, am I a liar?
No, Mr. President.
See, I'm not a liar.
But, sir...
But Alejandro said no, and he's Mexican, and if he lies, I'll deport him. I'll send him back.
Sir, we must seek peace.
I agree with you. We must seek a peace of Iran right this moment.
Sir, we highly advise against the war right now.
Then let's bomb them with our biggest bombs, and we can drop the bombs on them with a lot of precision and a lot of force, and then we can call for peace.
That doesn't make sense, sir.
Of course it does. I'll put it in a tweet on Twitter.
Mr. President, this is dangerous.
Alejandro, one more word, I'll be deporting you.
I'm a citizen.
I forgot my password.
Sir, you cannot provoke a war with Iran just because Bibi told you to.
Only I call him Bibi, Brian.
There's bigger problems, Mr. President.
Yes, there are, like Alejandro's haircut.
My mother cuts my hair.
So she's blind? I'm so sorry to hear that.
Mr. President, we need a solution, and fast.
How about this time we create another 9/11, we create another one, and then we can blame it on the Iranians.
Those tricks don't work anymore, sir. The public is onto us. Social media is huge.
They're making TikToks about everything, Mr. President.
Okay, so we'll do it on 9/12. How's that? 9/12, they won't suspect it, it's a different day, and 12 is a different number than 11, so... Call Papa John's, we're about to have a big night.
Get me Papa John's.
Yeah, Rudi Ayoub. Really good sketch comedy there. I'll be keeping my left eye on that. Might be bringing some more of his content in the future. Speaking of comedy clips, there was one that I played it a couple of times actually, on the stream, the Forbidden Clothes one. I think that's the reason that some of the recent live streams will have been tagged as having AI in them. Fair enough, I guess. So yeah, from Trump to a quick flying visit to his not defense secretary. Forget the position for just a moment. Tulsi Gabbard. Another clip's surfaced of sort of change of tone. She was saying the hypocrisy. No, I'm not saying that Tulsi Gabbard was threatened or blackmailed into saying the opposite of what she'd testified before. But Tulsi Gabbard was threatened or blackmailed into changing her mind on what she'd said before. Yeah, definitely. This is just another exhibit for that, but before we go into the clip, a very warm welcome to those of you joining us from Kevin Logan. We just had a raid, people. Let's give everybody a nice warm Brews at 10 welcome. So yeah, if you are joining us over from Kev's channel, please hit the thumbs up button on your way in. And we've got a poll going at the moment as well, if you'd like to take part in this. The poser is, how long will the ceasefire last? This is the Iran-Israel ceasefire. Of course, will it be days, weeks, months, or will it be over by the end of this live stream? Share your opinions there in the poll. Alright, take it away, Tulsi. This is from pre-victory rallies.
A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them. And who has demonstrated already that he has the courage and strength to stand up and fight for peace. History will look back on us at this moment for the choice that we make. Did we choose war or peace? Did we choose poverty or prosperity? Did we choose censorship or freedom?
Censorship or sensibility? Oh, wow. Yeah, says it all. Says it all. More people are standing up to this, though. I did a video a couple of days ago about David Lammy in a Radio 4 interview. He was being pressed on the legality of Trump's attack, which he refused to answer, dodged the question. This then spread through into the parliamentary debate about all this. I've got a couple of good clips here, good examples of how it should be done. I'm going to start with Stephen Flynn from the SNP.
Stephen Flynn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For a lot of people watching and worrying over the weekend, they'll have seen many of the hallmarks of Iraq. Yet, despite that, the Foreign Secretary can't tell us whether he believes these strikes were the right thing to do or not. The Foreign Secretary can't tell us whether he believes that these strikes were legal or not. And the Foreign Secretary has failed today to outline whether this House would be given a vote on any potential military action in this conflict.
Yeah, and that's because he's just absolutely abhorrently crap. And look at the face there, look at the I don't care, look at the this is just washing over me sort of expression on his face. Not a hint of sympathy, remorse, compassion or anything for the situation at hand. No. This guy is bought and paid for. You better believe it. And we're not talking about a bit of change either. Lots of money.
Is he purposely treating the public as fools?
Foreign Secretary.
I've got to say to the honourable gentleman, he may just have got a soundbite, but I'm really on the nuclear question. I'm not going to take lecturing from the honourable gentleman. I'm afraid he's got a very sorry record.
Well, I don't think Stephen Flynn has got any nuclear weapons, David. And I've said on previous streams, and this remains my stance, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to accept this nuclear weapons bullshit from Lammy Starmer, Trump or anybody. Or Tulsi Gabbard even. So no, bottom line, that's just completely out of the question. Some important things were raised there. Having a vote in Parliament, to approve this kind of thing, for example. That's obviously very important. If we're going to be getting involved with this or anything else, which has been hinted at today by Starmer, who suggested that we should have some sort of preparedness here in the United Kingdom. But can't say for what reason, against whom, or when. Just a general sort of heightened sense. Do you remember the sort of, if you look at the Bush era, that is George W. Bush, after September 11th attacks, there were these, and they still have them now, the threat level warning system, which is like a traffic light system. And it's always on amber or red or high, or it's never going to be low. But the same thing is happening now, just keeping everybody on edge, because a panicked and fearful society is more obedient than an intelligent and reactive society.
In relation to that very serious matter.
Need a vote.
We have been very clear that diplomacy is the way, that de-escalation is our position.
De-escalate, increase military spending, sending jets to Cyprus, talking about a preparedness for war, very openly as well, as some sort of posturing, some sort of stance for optics, and then having the balls to say that you're encouraging de-escalation. This man is a load of bollocks.
That's what you pursue if you're serious about foreign policy, and I'd recommend our approach to the Honourable Gentleman.
No. So that was essentially just shut up, get on board with the lies. I would recommend you take on our approach And it wasn't just Stephen Flynn who was at David Lammy. There was someone else, the Right Honourable Member for Islington North, who needs no introduction by name.
Has he said anything to Israel about its illegal holding of nuclear weapons, its possession of a delivery system, and obviously the danger to anybody if there is a nuclear-armed neighbour who may well use them? What has he actually said to the government of Israel about their nuclear weapons?
Foreign Secretary.
I want to recognise that the Right Honourable Gentleman has been campaigning on these issues.
We want to recognise that you're dodging the question, Lammy. Get on with it and answer it.
Over many, many years, and has taken strong positions on nuclear proliferation.
Yeah, including the fact that Israel don't allow their weapons to be inspected, including the fact that they've not signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the fact that they have at least 90 weapons that we know of, but who's to tell? Because they don't let the inspectors in. And I don't want to sound like I'm getting ahead of myself here if I say that it might not be completely beyond the realm of imagination that Israel, given the previous reputation, might not be completely honest as a country. Yeah, but that's no concern for David Lammy, of course. He doesn't want any attention being brought to the thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands that he's lobbied by Israel to take this pathetic stance and give these pathetic responses at the dispatch box to. It's just an absolute insult, not just to Corbyn, who's asking the question, not just to the House of Commons as a supposed seat of democracy, but to the entire population, of which I'm included, and this is certainly an insult to me and anybody whose IQ is above the waistband size. So Rowan Harridge, welcome to the chat as well. Just noticing a few new arrivals there. How do you brew this evening?
I don't want to go back to the days of Mordecai Vanunu, but I would just remind him, Israel is not threatening its neighbours with nuclear weapons. It's Iran. It's Iran that we must stop at this time.
No, you can't possibly back that up. You can't possibly back that up. There is no factual basis for that statement. Just caught out, you know. Well, they're not. We'll be the ones telling you who the bad guys are, people. Oh yes, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, don't believe your memories. Just trust in your government, who will directly and clearly inform you who the current enemy is. And you can flip a coin on whether such countries that we're now against will be ones that we used to back. And not just back, but arm. Yeah. Hedy, thank you very much for the generous gift there. With the gifted memberships. Hope you all enjoy your perks, people. So that takes us up to 92. So we're getting closer to the goal again. I really do appreciate that. That's fantastic stuff. What marvellous members I've got here. Thank you very much indeed. Odin, that's a good analogy as well. Let's see what else we're saying. Yeah, sorry, I was talking about Iraq with the weapons thing. The you know, we sell to America, they sell to whomever, and then the next minute they're the bad guys. What was it? If you're familiar with a comedian from, I think, like 80s, 90s, Bill Hicks, and he said, referring to the first Gulf War, when he was doing one of his bits, that they know the type of weapons that Iraq have got because they check the receipts. Yeah, that still rings true today. Very nice to see you all giving a shout out to Eddie for that generous gift there as well. Great community, spirits, people, loving it. In fact, let's celebrate with another laugh. Yeah, trying to keep things very jovial this evening. It's another one of the you know who rants. This one's from just a few days ago, and he's on the phone to Netanyahu.
Mein Führer, wir haben noch keine Meldung. Ich spreche gerade mit Koller. Koller, geben Sie mir Koller. Koller.
Hitler.
Sie wissen, dass Berlin unter Artilleriefeuer liegt.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Hören Sie den Beschuss nicht?
To stop the nuclearization of terrorist states. But the deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. Time is running out. We have to act responsibly.
Die Russen sollen eine Eisenbahnbrücke über die Oder haben.
Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years.
Das sind ja nur 12 Kilometer bis zum Stadtkern. Ist der Russe schon so nah?
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Haben Sie noch Zweifel an einem Befehl? Ich glaube!
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Ich habe mich klar genug ausgedrückt! Aber alle diese Verräter werden bezahlen.
Iran's completed the first stage. Took them many years, but they completed it, and they're 70% of the way there. Now they're well into the second stage.
Wenn sich ohne Befehl entfernt hat, ist das Fahnenflucht. Verrat!
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
Die gesamte Generalität ist nichts weiter als ein Haufen niederträchtiger, treuloser Feiglinge!
The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons, and this with full international legitimacy.
Aber alle diese Verräter werden bezahlen.
While Iran could have the means to deliver that nuclear arsenal to the far reach corners of the earth, including to every part of the United States.
Ist das Feiglinge, Verräter, Versager!
A militant Islamic terror regime. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
Hat die Korruption in unserem Staat möglich gemacht.
Here's the warhead. Here's the bomb.
Unberechenbarer Künstler. All die anderen, ja.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon
In a very short time. It could be a year. It could...
Bravo, bravo. Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, that's an Acme bomb from Roadrunner. Nice one, Graham. How are you brewing this evening? Great to see you. Good question, Edward. I'd like to know what Bruno Gantz thinks about the parodies as well. And I agree, it's a great film. Downfall, the one that it's taken from. Some people try and say that it tries to sort of humanise them, but I don't think so at all. If anything, it just sort of re-emphasises the fanaticism, and there's some great acting in there. It's fairly historically accurate as well from what we understand, so it's not the worst accounting of what took place down there. And some really iconic scenes as well. Well, enough to make a full successful parody page from, as the Rants parodies have done, so well done to them for that. Some of them are really amazing as well. One of the first ones that I saw was it was as if he's doing a Where's Wally book, and the generals, you know, Keitel and everyone who's there was saying, you know, we've been here for hours, and he's there like, I will fucking find him. I've nearly got it. And that had me hooked straight away. They did quite a lot of sports ones as well, I think, and they do all sorts of genres, yeah. Check them out. Let me know what your favourite scene from the film is, or most disturbing. There are some pretty disturbing bits, because they were some pretty sick bastards down there in that concrete coffin that it turned out to be anyway. Good riddance to them, and moving on. Amber Tangent Alert. So yeah, the pushback against Israel in terms of protest continues. I've been keeping you up to speed with some of what's been going on recently, but what has really been the main talking point over the last couple of days is this prescribing of Palestine Action as the group. This follows the RAF Bryce Norton protest where a jet was sprayed. Yvette Cooper seems hell-bent on having them classified as a terrorist group. Now, I obviously think this is a bad move, speaking as a protester and activist myself, as someone who has carried out a spraying action and been tried and convicted. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. Some people are making some really good points about this, but unfortunately out there you've still got plenty of gammons who aren't. So I'm going to take you to a little exchange that was on LBC recently. I don't know who this guy is, but he's a right twat, that's for sure. If you saw the full interview and or you know who they are, please do let me know in the chat or in the comments. Well, how's about this for a bit of Bellendery people?
It is not their intention to intimidate or to damage national security. It is their intention to prevent war crimes from taking place, which are taking place. They knew they were committing criminal damage. They knew they were committing vandalism, and they should be charged under those terms. The idea that they are terrorists.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what I knew that I was doing when I it was a bank. I sprayed a bank. This isn't confession hour or anything. Like I said, I was tried and convicted. I've been, arrested and or charged or whatever for all my actions. So that it just really doesn't follow. It's not within the realms of it legally or morally whatsoever. And it's just pure draconian efforts to clamp down on protest again, which we're seeing not just on Palestine, but obviously a lot of environmental protest going on as well, which is what my personal action was concerning. Thank you very much, Katie Marshall, with the 10 gifted memberships. That takes us over the 100. Yes. Brilliant stuff. Solidari-Tea for that. 102. Thanks again, Katie. Let's give a shout out to Katie in the chat, people. Whoop whoop. Props and ting.
And that I, now for expressing my support for them, could face serious terrorist charges up to 14 years in jail is a terrifying escalation and abuse of state power, and we should not stand for it for a second.
I don't think they're terrorists. I do think they're wankers.
Yeah, you know, it's just like a living, breathing troll, the sort that you get on your social media. Oh, look at this guy. Who is this guy? Let me know if you know who this guy is. This is who I'm referring to here. What was it? I just wanted to say something about the final
is
point.
a terrifying escalation and abuse of state power, and we should not stand for it for a second.
Yeah, and a reminder, you know, friends of mine are still incarcerated. Some of them for having a Zoom call, for example. On the flip side, I can bring you a more positive story from recently. 8 people who were on trial for an attempted protest at Gatwick Airport were found not guilty. And there have been a lot of examples shared recently going around from the Iraq war period, that is the second Iraq or Gulf War invasion, I should say, whichever way you want to put it. That protests around that time as well were acquitted. That are almost exactly the same as this. And it's, once again, just purely draconian. It's going way too far. It's gone way too far. Orwellian.
I think they're terrorists. I do think they're wankers. I mean, just, you know...
You know what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to go on the radio and I'm going to call them wankers. Yeah.
This is a serious matter.
I grew up 3 miles away from area Forest Norton. If you were stupid enough to try and hop the fence, you would have expected to be shot by the security guards. And I think there's quite a lot of people wondering why the hell that didn't happen this time. I mean, they broke into a high.
Okay. Well, that's just an urban... I have no regard for how close he did or didn't grow up to RAF Bryce Norton and what they would say would happen or what he would think would happen if he went trespassing on there. But the way that the law stands is that unless there is a serious and obvious threat to life, then you can't actually shoot somebody, even if they're trespassing. So no, that's a myth, and it goes, you know, back to the old myth about farmers as well. There have been famous cases where there have been some cases where farmers have actually murdered people and then tried to make it look like they shot a trespasser, and then from investigation it's turned out that they knew them and yada yada yada. But even if there were, and I think in those cases it was pointed out that even if they were trespassing, it's still no good reason, unless there is an immediate and obvious threat to human life, which going on a scooter with a fire extinguisher full of dyed cornstarch doesn't really fit into that description. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know the law. And as the... Sorry, I don't know what this lady's name is. As they're about to point out and ask, is he advocating that that is what should happen to protesters?
Do you think they should have been shot?
It's a military installation guarded by armed soldiers.
Are you advocating that they should have been shot?
There's quite a lot of...
What is this? What kind of conversation are we in?
Well, of course we won't do it on LBC. This would be the sort of keyboard basher that would, you know, just go and do it behind closed doors. It's the sort of thing that Jeremy Clarkson or someone like that might say, you know, these divs, Lawrence Foxes and whatnot, to try and be shocking. The blah 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 should be rounded up and shot, you know, because I'm the biggest twat in the world. That's the way that they think about things, that's the way that they communicate. All of this, yeah, bloody wankers, aren't they? They should be shot. It's just thoughtless bile. Well challenged, though, I do think. And like I said, I've not seen the full interview. I just got this sort of snippet from it, but I do hope that the legal ramifications of this were brought up by at least the host. It's unbelievable. Beggars belief. I'll just remind you, good people, please make sure you hit thumbs up on the stream as we move forward. I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat to see if any of you actually recognise these people. Because I'm damned if I do, I have to say. I'm certainly glad that I don't know whatever his bollocks is. Okay, no takers at the moment. They will have to remain anonymous for now. Quick look at the poll again. See how optimistic we're feeling at the moment. Not very. But all will be revealed at the end of the stream. There have been some great demonstrations already in support of Palestine action and against the prescribement. Some of them got a bit heated at the weekend. I don't know if you saw any of the footage of that. Please do let me know if you were on those marches down in London. In fact, the same friend of mine who I mentioned at the Mochara trial was down there with the revolting hippie, my friend Ranks, I saw some pictures of them together. I've been getting the info about what was happening, and it's again heavy-handed from the police. There was one guy, and I would estimate just from the footage and pictures to be perhaps in his late 60s, early 70s, being seriously violently jostled by a large group of police, and it just wasn't great to see at all. The stormtroopers, the Met down there in London. But well done to everybody for being defiant if you were down there. I'll be down in London myself pretty soon, so I'll be bringing you some more exclusive content and footage, and hopefully a few interviews and whatnot on my travels, so I'll keep you posted on that. Nicola, was that a jury trial? Which case is that? Mentioned a few in the last sort of half hour. But I do think, yeah, this prescription isn't going to put people off. It's certainly not going to deter me in supporting Palestine, supporting Gaza, and of course sticking up for non-violent direct action groups like Pal Action, who I've not taken action with, but tread similar paths with JSO and Youth Demand and the like. So yeah, absolutely have to show solidarity with Pal Action, 100%. I think we all do, really, because if it can happen to them, it could happen to a group. You know, I make this point, or have made this point in the past quite a lot, especially around JSO actions. But whether you agree with the protests or not, someday, you know, there will come an issue that you'll want to take to the streets to protest against. And you'll be banned from doing so. You won't legally be allowed to do so. And that's the problem. Let's say if the rate of income tax went up to 90% overnight, I'm pretty sure the masses would have something to say about that. But yeah, it's just back to the point in hand. Pal Action, it's not violent, it's actually anti-violence, and that is the reason why they're protesting in the first place, because there is such abhorrent violence taking place in Gaza and the West Bank. So it's all on its head. It's completely foobar, getting somewhat dystopian at this point, I think. You have to agree, people. And on that note, we're going to get some commentary from someone you'll have heard ranting previously. From Exploding Heads, it's Colin from Portsmouth.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
I am disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted. This is not a heat wave.
Yeah.
It's called summer, and it's lovely. It used to happen every year before the Wokarati banned weather.
Well, it has been unusually hot, Colin. That's the thing, isn't it?
Only if you're not used to it. You
Yeah.
need to train yourself. I'm spending 4 hours a day sat in a Ford Mondeo in my local Tesco car park, windows up, no shade, heated full on, and a massive thermos of hot beefy soup.
That sounds horrendous, Colin. Please don't put those images
Yeah,
into
it
my
is,
mind.
but it's lovely when I come out. It's weather, Anthony. It builds character.
A lot of people are concerned, Colin. Schools are closing early. There's lots
Because of a bit of sun. Don't
Yeah.
make me laugh, mate. Back in my day, if the playground didn't melt your shoes, it wasn't a proper education. You come home with third-degree burns and a cornetto. That's what made this country great.
What about the environmental risks, though? The wildfires, Colin, the droughts.
Wildfires? There's more fire hazard in a Wetherspoons curry night. You want a national emergency, Anthony? I went to 4 shops yesterday and not one of them had Soleros. Labour have deliberately brought about an ice cream famine. Total collapse of society.
Do you think climate change might be playing a part, though, Colin, in your heart of hearts?
No, not having it, not having it. Al Jolson made climate change up when he ran for president in the 1980s.
Yep.
It's nonsense. Mate, it rained solid for 12 years in Portsmouth between 1993 and 2005. I've still got trench foot. Now the sun comes out for a week and we act like the sky's on fire. It's nothing but fear-mongering by the Wokarati. And fear is the worst type of monger.
So we don't need a hosepipe ban in your view, Colin?
No, the opposite, mate. We
Yeah.
should make daily hosepipe fights compulsory. We used to duel in the street back in my day. Proper aquatic warfare. It brought communities together. My nan was such a ninja with a Nerf gun she ended up getting approached by MI5.
Wow.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
I'm off to put some extra thin ham slices on my chest and sit in the freezer in the nuddy.
Colin from Portsmouth on the exploding heads. That was the latest from them. Yeah. That's me. I do have a badge somewhere, the Walker-Arty badge that I've got. Very proud to wear it, of course. It's better than being asleep at the wheel as we hurtle over the cliff of climate collapse and disaster. But good news, people. Before the actual worst climactic events of these changes, will have suffered the complete breakdown of society anyway. Probably within the next 15 years, so it's nothing to worry about. And that's getting increasingly likely as well. People check out Bill Maguire's great work. In fact, I was recently reminded on my social media that this time last year I was attending a talk of his. I've seen him, in fact I've had the pleasure of hosting one of his talks in the past, and he emphasises a lot about the societal breakdown and why it's getting more likely. The refugee crisis, obviously the food crisis comes into this a lot. They're going to be the worst parts. Yeah. No clean water in the next decade, anyone? Tofu karate. 420 toe karate. Yeah, aquatic warfare, that was good. Aquatic warfare in the streets. Colin's nan was a ninja with a Nerf gun. I think he meant to say super soaker, because Nerf guns fire the foam pellets. They're both brands, of course, so it's a bit of a strange one. Right, people, it's time for me to give another shout out to all the members on the channel, and it's been brilliant to have some new additions as well. It'll be my pleasure to update this list with all the new members that we've had on this live stream tonight. Brilliant stuff. Thanks again for that support. Thanks again to every single member, marvellous members, the Brew crew. We're back over the target as well. Thanks again. I'm going to chat back up. Right, people, I haven't had time to get the next volume of Brews at 10, the album out, but that will be out this week on another stream, just so you know. I normally do it on the first Brews at 10 of the week. I would have done it yesterday. Explained why I was delayed, and yeah, it's just not been Not been possible to squeeze that in today. Stick around, people. We're getting towards the end of the stream here on the Brews at 10. But I've got a selection, I've got a choice for who we could raid into. So let me know who you prefer between this space and Alec Gunter, who are both live at the moment. If it's any kind of influence, I think most recently we went into Alec Gunter. We've been into both recently, but I think that was the most recent. Let me know your preference, and I'll make a choice before the end of the stream, which is coming up, but I do have, of course, a poll to attend to. So I will hereby declare that the poll will be closed in 1 minute. If you'd like to make your final votes, if you've not voted yet. I'm having a cheeky look at the live news feed as well, just to see if the ceasefire has been broken during the live stream. We all know Israel's track record on very poor track record on the ceasefires. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek option anyway. It wouldn't be unrealistic though. You never know. Okay, so that's it for the poll. Let's check out the results. Like myself, it doesn't look like you're particularly optimistic. Most of you think that the ceasefire will only last days. Shortly followed by, over by the end of this live stream, 37%, which appears not to be the case. There are still a few moments left. 11%, it's a tie between weeks and months. Yeah, so track record considered, I would be very surprised if there isn't some infringement of this. We've seen it in Palestine, we've seen it in Lebanon. Odin Rathbone was one of the selections, but it said it was an upcoming stream, unless they've literally just gone on now. I'll double check that, but that would mean we've got a choice of 3 for the raid. Let's double check that. Yeah, it's saying it's upcoming for Rathbone. So we'll go with this space anyway. It's my decision. Can we have a raid poll? I don't know. I don't know if you can. Not sure if you can do that, Clive. It's a good idea though. I'll suggest it to YouTube next time they do a community survey. Right, so stay where you are, people. We're going from this space into another space which is called this space in a few moments. So thanks for joining me on the stream. I'll see you over there very shortly. I've been your host, Lefty. You've all been wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever you're doing. And my left, I'll be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and power to the people.